Hey there, and welcome to the Manajack channel, where we delve into the exciting world of tabletop RPGs, MMOs, Warhammer, and more. Today we have an interesting yet controversial topic that's been stirring up debates among Dungeons & Dragons enthusiasts. The age-old question of 4th edition versus 5th edition. Which one should you try? Was 4E actually as bad as people make it out to be? Well, sit down, grab yourself a cup of coffee as we explore the unique charm of 4th edition D&D and why you might want to give it a go. So before we delve into Dungeons of Old, a little backstory first. 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons launched circa about 15 years ago and is actually experiencing a bit of a renaissance of sorts among tabletop RPG fans. A lot of newcomers are coming into the hobby with the advent of shows, movies, and video games. And honestly, I wouldn't blame someone starting out, beginning their hobbying journey in 5th edition, as it's the most streamlined and easy to learn rule set out of every system out there. Most of you are probably already familiar with 5th edition, however, but if you spend any time on the internet, you've heard about the other editions of D&D, and there seems to be a common trend with D&D media to trash 4th edition anytime it comes up. So 4th edition came out around 2008, and around the time that the apex of MMO dominance. Wrath of the Lich King for World of Warcraft was just about to launch, sending WoW into new heights of popularity. I can imagine when Wizards of the Coast was designing 4th edition, they looked at the massive following of people who were flocking to MMOs and decided that they want a slice of the proverbial pie and help potential hobbyists get into D&D who were fans of, MMOs in general. They also took in a lot of feedback about, some of the issues with 3rd edition to update the game. Unfortunately, while the fundamental concepts mostly stayed the same, with the whole rolling a d20 and adding, like a bonus, the mechanics of the game changed in such a drastic way that alienated the 3rd edition folks. A good chunk of the 3rd edition grognards, took one look at the power system of 4th edition and immediately cried foul. The martial characters only make attacks. They don't get special powers. It was the same exact reasoning they gave for banning the Book of Nine Swords, or, if you're cultured, the Book of Weeaboo Fightin' Magic, from their own games. But, that's a video for another day. So 4th edition immediately got a reputation hit on its launch, and, many flocked over to the 3.5 revised edition, known as Pathfinder, which is made by Paizo. Indeed, today a lot of grumbling about 4th edition seems to come from either the grognards of old or the ones who have heard about 4th edition from them. And to be fair, there are some solid criticisms of 4th edition that I stand by. For example, the game is extremely balanced. There wasn't the dichotomy of magic users and martial classes, and no linear trajectory that essentially made martials great in the early levels and wizards god tier at the later. It's both a blessing and a curse, in truth, as some people prefer that over the power system of 4th edition. Rather, in 4E, the classes were broken down into what some call the Holy Trinity of MMO culture. The tanks, healers, and DPS, when 4th edition is considered, controllers are also added into the mix, and they're kind of waffle stomped somewhere between, in the triangle between DPS and healers. So the combat could also be massively grindy. Whenever a D&D vet talks about or makes fun of 4th edition, that's really the biggest thing that they talk about. I mean, if you've seen Puff and Forrest's video on 4th edition, you know exactly, what I'm referring to here. The DM has a lot of responsibility for, combat dragging on like that, but there is a plethora of advice from 4th edition veterans on how to speed up combat. You can utilize the escalation dice mechanic, which is a homebrew rule to give you a bonus on attacks as combat runs on, or using damage spillover rules. This advice really helps in avoiding combat becoming a slog, and really in any edition, it's the DM's job to read the table and know when to end the fight. While on the subject, we can talk a little bit about combat. If you're a fan of tactical battles and strategic decision making, 4th edition is, right up your alley. The combat mechanics in 4th edition are incredibly detailed and structured, providing a grid-based combat system that offers a tactical depth that some people find truly satisfying. In my opinion, the definitive way to enjoy 4th edition is actually using a virtual tabletop like Foundry or Roll20. It can automate a lot of the bookkeeping that comes with playing any tabletop role-playing game. It's also a little bit more engaging for the Dungeon Master as well, because in my opinion, 4E had a lot of options for encounter design. You weren't fighting 6 zombies and 4 skeletons. You have 4 zombie minions that might go down easy, but resurrect whenever they die. You have 2 zombie brutes that grapple foes and cause mayhem on the front lines. In the backfield, you have 2 flaming skeletons hurling fireballs at the party, and then 2 skeleton lurkers stalking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect time to strike and incapacitate a critical member of the party. It's not just a goblin stat block, for example, in the rules, it's goblins with different roles, like a meat shield goblin or a goblin that lays down blocks of darkness that block line of sight, and shiftier goblins that have the ability to go invisible to flank the players and ambush them at the perfect time. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that you can't homebrew those rules for 5th edition, but I'm just speaking in general terms of comparison between the 2 rule sets. Definitely recommend checking out the Matt Coville video on encounter design in 5th edition if you'd like to see some ways that you could spice up your 5e game using some mechanics out of 4th edition. So don't get me wrong, 5th edition, definitely has its merits too. It's streamlined and accessible, which makes it a great choice for beginners. But if you're someone who craves intricate combat encounters, complete with unique powers, stances, and cool synergies between characters, 4th edition is truly where it shines. It gives everybody the ability to influence, control, and do cool things in combat, rather than just a wizard casting one spell that can immediately level the encounter, or the fighter having, only 1 or 2 options in combat. Now let's talk about simplicity versus complexity. 5th edition D&D is celebrated for its ease of play. It's straightforward, and the rules are designed to keep the focus on storytelling and role-playing. It's perfect for people who just prefer a more narrative-driven experience. However, in terms of, actual character design, once you've seen a level 1 fighter, you've actually seen most level 1 fighters. 4th edition, on the other hand, although a little bit more complex, offers an extremely deep customization package and character building aspect. You have class powers, backgrounds, feats, themes, paragon paths, and epic destinies, allowing you to create something truly unique, with a wealth of options and possibilities at every step of the way. If you want the ability to rain some magic fire down on your foes as a fighter at level 1, it's all yours. If you want an owlbear to fight alongside you as a wizard, yeah. None of the classes, catch your fancy. You can even hybrid them and then gain some of the benefits of both classes. And lastly, let's not forget about the availability of resources. Although 4th edition is no longer the current edition, there is an extremely vast library of sourcebooks, adventures, and supplements available online. And this means you'll have an extensive catalog to choose from, providing a wealth of content to explore. As a dungeon master, if you crack open the original monster manual, you may actually find some creatures with extensive stat blocks that look like a chore to read. And as a personal tip, I'd highly recommend using the monsters found in the Monster Vault, the Threats to the Nentir Vale, and Monster Manual 3, as those monster cards can actually fit on a business card and have the math fixed on their actual profiles to have their defenses reduced and their damage amplified, which speeds up combat considerably. You can utilize the 4th edition D&D Discord, which is found in the video description below, to find the install instructions on the extremely handy character builder as well, and that simplifies creating a character with all the resources and options at your disposal and walks you through every step of the way. And so, whether you're a seasoned player craving tactical combat, or perhaps a collector seeking a treasure trove of content, 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons might honestly be the perfect fit for you. And don't get caught up in the edition wars either. Just embrace the diversity of the hobby and choose the game that, aligns with your playstyle. As always, you can let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and remember to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, as it'll help build my channel. Until next time, happy adventuring.